Amanda.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our
Today
channel.
we're watching Vinland Saga Season 2, Episode 20. Thorgil is going to attempt an assassination attempt on Canute.
Yes.
He swam up behind him, and I believe that there were two guards on either side of him.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not really certain how that is going to go down. Also, I'm not certain if Arnade is going to say a thank you to Einar and Thorfinn before passing away, or if it's just not her time yet. That's where I'm at.
Out of these two characters that are possibly in a position of maybe imminent death, one in my mind is more likely to be the one that will actually die in this next episode, and that is not Canute, if that answers the question. It's the other one.
A very similar place. You ready?
Yes.
Sweet.
Catching up with Snake.
Okay.
Oh.
I mean, he's staying with Snake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Snake's men are the only ones that truly know. They're enjoying this. Oh my god. They're not even trying to finish them off. They're just wounding them to feel like immense pain.
Oh, you're incapable of battle. You know, like...
It's fun. They're just having... Badger!
Whoa!
Your friend! Was that his real name? Did he even call him his real name?
Oh, wow. I love the animation. It has to be referenced. It's so good. Woo!
Snake. Wow. Kettle might not agree with that. Kettle's not gonna agree with that.
All right.
Thank goodness. Where's your honor, you con man?
Wow.
We've always listened to you.
Might makes right. Whew.
Oh, now Wolf's leaving Canute's side. Canute's gonna... Oh, Wolf was one of his best defenses, too.
Yeah. We've seen Canute hold a sword, right?
Against Wolf, but Wolf would have won if Canute hadn't used his sister. The chances your dad's possible death. What a timing!
Oh my god!
Timing.
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either, but that was a really convincing surprise face on Canute.
Oh, the sword cracked! Oh!
At once! Both of them! Your sword! Yeah. Oh my god, probably. The strength to crack your sword.
Holy shit. Oh my
Okay,
god!
smart.
Capes are not useless.
He knows the tactics.
Oh!
Floki? No? Someone. Wolf!
Holy shit, Wolf. What does this fight look like? Woo! Oh! Oh my god! What in the fuck? Wolf's fucked.
Canute. No, you're blinded in one eye now. Oh, the Yams Vikings are done with Kettle's men, so...
Damn! He's a bold man. That's an understatement. I wish he'd serve me again.
I wonder if Pater's okay.
Kettle? What do you think?
Maybe.
Oh, shit. Oh! Iron Fist.
Wow. And as he says that line, we span on all the dead bodies.
Arnade. The sound of the world falling apart.
大丈夫。俺たちはもう奴隷じゃない。この農場を去るんです。
ここを去ってどこに行くの？
わしの村へ行こう。と寒いがいいところだ。
奴隷はいますか？戦争はありますか？
Oh, what Thorfinn desires.
かつて争いは先ないと言えば嘘になるだろう。
私は行かないわ。
She doesn't want to live in a world with slaves and war.
I'm going somewhere else.
ところに行くの。子供たちが。
You're waiting for
待
her.
ってもらってるの。お礼を言いたかった。
She just came here to express her gratitude.
エイナルさん、トルフィンさん、さまよっているみたいだった。一人でも
And then, oh my god.
朝のおしゃべりがエイナルさんのお話。
アルネイさん、気をしっかり追ってくれ。
Don't
アルネ
shake
イさ
her
ん、
too much.
子供を守るって言ったじゃないですか。
この子はもう行ったわ。みんな死んだわ。大切な人はみんなこれ以上生きて何になるの？もうここには何も。なぜ生きなければならない
Why do I have to live? Thorfinn knows those feelings.
だって俺はあなたを。アルネイさん、アルネイさん、アルネイ。どいてくれ、エイナル。
CPR?
父から教わったエイナル、話しかけろ、大声で。アルネイさん、行くな。あなたが大好きなんだ。あなたが俺の話で笑ってくれ。生きて、また一緒に生きてくれ。生きてくれよ。
Oh.
Thorfinn's already stopped. That means there's no use.
もういい
Wow. Wow. The sound of the water.
遥かな西大海の向こうに土地があるそこは暖かく豊かで奴隷商人も戦の炎もそこならきっとあなたも苦しまずに生きていけるアルネイズさん俺たちと一緒にそこへ行こうヴィンランドに平和な国を作ろうお前らかなんでまだこんなところ
He
に
expected them to flee.
Oh no.
よせエイダルケデルお前がアルネイさんを殺してやるやめろエイダル
Oh!
そうか目を覚ませエイダル
Wow.
エイナルお前の怒りは
We'll
旦那
call
を
your
殺したって収まりはし怒りが怒りを呼んで次々に人が死ぬだけだずっとその地獄の中にいた頼むエイナル
I'm not ready. I was not ready for this.
Oh,
I was
is
not
that her?
emotionally prepared to sit down and watch this episode. Dad.
They buried her with a view of the sea. I feel like I haven't heard music like this since like the beginning of season 1.
我々を見ていらっしゃるのだろうな友を失い親と子が殺し合う天空の高みから見下ろしておられるのだろうトルフィー待てどこへ行く何をするつもりだクヌートに会いに行く旦那はまだ生きてた捕まってもいない決着がついてないんだこれ以上死人を出さずに
Oh
my
my
God.
god.
バカなすぐにわしとここを離れるんだお前がそこまでせねばならんトルフィン
He was hearing Canute's words and
お前をアイスランドに連れて帰らせてくれおっちゃん昔俺たちのご先祖様は逃げてアイスランドにたどり着いたってかっこ悪いってそう思ったけど今はすごく誇らしく思うざっと見たところクヌートは100人前後の兵しか連れていなかったどんなに悪く転んでも来て戻るだけならなんとかなる
He doesn't intend to die.
いつでも船を出せるようにしておくぞ無理はするなアイスランドに帰るぞトルフィン
Okay, that was season 2, episode 20 of Vinland Saga. I just want to apologize ahead of time for how unorganized discussions about it.
Yeah. I feel like this is one of those episodes that I feel like we're going to want to revisit in a more kind of organized manner, maybe at a before time of the next episode when we've like gathered ourselves better.
What a masterpiece.
An amazing episode. I felt so, especially towards the end, there were so many elements that were happening, both with the music, the audio, even some of the sound effects that were happening with the water, and almost like this faint drumming of like a coming home or, you know, ships at sea, that had so much of the energy of season 1. And then to also be having Leaf there, dialogue remembering a conversation Leaf and Thorfinn had when Thorfinn was a child, and then on top of it, dialogue from Canute that I believe happened in season 1 with Thorfinn looking at the sky in almost the same manner as Canute at the end of season 1.
The first 10 minutes and 50 seconds were great. The second, the latter 13 minutes was perfect. It was perfect.
I'd agree with that.
I'll never be able, in my pitiful fucking life that will follow and is led up to now, I will never be able to understand the minds of people who are able to do something like this.
Like write something like this?
Yeah, execute it, write it. Every cog that it took to finish this. You know, we've watched a couple of movies, anime movies, before we started the channel. Your Name, A Silent Voice, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. I think those are the only 3 that I can think of that I've ever watched before the channel. But within those hour and a half plus, you know, pieces of animation, it's impressive, but it doesn't surprise you at the level of immersion you're able to feel because of how long you've been sat down watching it, you know?
Especially if you're seeing it in like a theater. Like when we saw I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, we saw it in like a theater viewing.
And like the next bridge that it's like, okay, well, you're watching a full series with hours of content. And if you're watching it every day, then that immersion even makes more sense. But the fact that like, I have not watched an episode of Vinland Saga in probably over a week, right?
Probably.
I have never felt more attached to this show than I did this episode. I have never... This was one of the best episodes of anything I've ever seen. You brought it up a couple times during the episode, and I felt like I wasn't even capable of talking to how incredible the fucking music was. Are you kidding me? Okay. Easy, like, okay, the last bit with Thorfinn looking out over the water, you referenced it sounded like early season 1 music, right? Great. Just the violin playing upon the latter half of losing Arnade, fan-fucking-tastic, but holy shit, the music that was playing upon Arnade's death, and it was one of the best songs I've ever heard in my entire life, and I just want to close my eyes right now, and leave the room and just listen to it again. It was one of the best soundtracks of anything I've ever heard in my life, and it was so perfectly paired and timed with the moment, and it added to it. It rose what was already a perfect moment to the masterpiece level for me. Like, it was... God.
It feels like, we've talked about this in other shows that we've watched where, obviously, we didn't read whatever content, you know, was the precursor to this anime or that anime. You know, we've never read the manga or the visual novel or the novel that kind of was the precursor. So there's no way of actually knowing whether something's a good adaptation, how much love it seems like the team that created the anime put into it in order to bring it to life. But I feel like if we think about the emotional moments in Vinland Saga, but like specifically Vinland Saga Season 2, because obviously I can directly reference it more so because that's the more recency. Like those are the moments that I've seen more recently. And I just can't not feel like the person who laid it out and was turning it from just a 2D, maybe black and white drawing on a page into something with words, like audio, music, like color and voice acting, whoever was behind and on that team of like bringing it to life, there is such power in the emotional moments that are created in this anime that I feel like there was so much time and like respect done. Like I have to believe, even without seeing whatever the predecessor is, that there is so much love being given to this piece of work in the pacing that is given here and the music and the voice acting and every moment that is emotional in Vinland Saga Season 2 just feels like it has, I think the word that I really just want to sum it up with is there's like a respect there. It feels really honest, authentic, and respectful to whatever material they might have been previously working with, but not even that respectful to like whoever created the story, but respectful to the characters as if they were real people.
Yeah, definitely. Bringing up like the humanity of like of how they're able to depict it within fighting in terms of Vinland Saga Season 1 and 2, this felt the most like, with color grading and animation, felt the most live action to me. There were so many moments of animation and fighting that it felt like it was just 100% referenced in terms of like animation. Like I almost could see like me and my buddies like having one friend have a camera out and us having like plastic swords and like, you know, you're actually acting like in the moment, and then you take it back and reference it like frame from frame while drawing it. That's what it felt like to me. It felt so visceral and live action and in my face, especially fucking like when Wolf's eye got pushed in by Thorgil. Like it felt so real for being an anime. I you know what? Sidebar, fuck anybody who's like, I don't like anime because it's anime. Nah, anime isn't a genre, bro. It's a medium. Like, what the... That's... Sorry. But man.
I think that might have been... I think when we were younger, first got into anime, that was definitely a kind of philosophy and take that a lot of people who had never tried watching an anime felt or thought. But honestly, like, to the positive of anime becoming a lot more popular, or at least a lot more mainstream in terms of like you see it in more like bigger stores that are, instead of the more like niche stores that always specifically sold anime merch, it's becoming a lot more like normal and less thought of as either weird or a minority of people watch it or enjoy it, and or that it's like for kids, or it's a genre that like wouldn't be able to show or depict anything that is like mature or deeper.
You know, I find that in people in my immediate life that have watched that are older than me, you know, like my biological father, for example, like they've from what I understood always had like a negative connotation or no connotation at all towards anime, and then after watching Attack on Titan, they really enjoyed it. And I think that what they enjoyed about it was the maturity of the writing and the themes behind it.
Right.
And obviously
my dad and my uncle watched it too, and they both really enjoyed it.
And I think that, like, obviously that has a lot of, like, magic elements to it, you know? And
there's fantastical parts of that story.
But in terms of, like, god damn, this has got to be one of the go-to shows, I would recommend to anybody.
I would pick this show, yeah, for someone who, are you going with the direction of, like, in the same vein as, like, recommending Attack on Titan to people who are, like maybe even older, who don't watch anime?
Yeah. It has some of the most important themes and execution of those themes that I've ever seen. I think that, I truly think that, like, the way that they're, okay, fuck it. Were you expecting in the slightest that Thorfinn was going to say, I'm going to go talk to Canute? At the beginning of this episode, in the intro, we're both pretty fucking sure that Arnade is probably going to die. With that expectation, I had not considered for a second that Thorfinn was, by the end of the episode, going to say, I'm going to walk up to Canute and talk to him. I don't want any more deaths. Now, after the moment, I feel like an idiot for not thinking that, because it adds on to the element of who Thorfinn has become as a character so brilliantly.
It really does add on. I think why my brain didn't go in that direction is because I didn't see, like, once the fighting had started, I didn't see what would be the moment and the time anymore, or reason there, once the fighting had already started and the deaths had already started happening. Like, once Ketil's defeated, that was the only target of Canute, you know? Canute wasn't going after any of the other landowners in that area. He was only charging Ketil and his family and going after his land. So I thought that once the fighting ensued for that purpose and Ketil was defeated, then what would be, like, the reason that Thorfinn, other than, like, a grand scheme of things, like if Thorfinn wanted to become somewhat of an activist, politician-esque, like, really involve himself in the grand scheme of things, then he'd get involved, because the more direct influence around him, the conflict around him would have already been either almost over or ended by the point that he's done with the scene with Arnade. So I was like, yeah, what would be the reason there? But it does seem like it's like he's really thinking about it. Like, he's informed, I think, giantly here because of the fact that Ketil's still alive. Also, we know he doesn't know this. We know this. Thorgil's still alive. Mm-hmm. We know that Olmar's still alive. So the Ketil family is still alive.
I'm a bit terrified for Thorfinn's safety, not because of anything that was said at the end of the episode. Thorfinn's, like, which I want to talk about what Thorfinn said, but strictly because the Thorgil interaction happened, and the fact that the Thorgil interaction happened, I think that Canute's entire army is going to be extremely reluctant to let any one person from the other side anywhere close to Canute. God, okay. Sorry again for the messiness of this discussion so far. I'm astounded. Can I just go down the list of stuff that I wrote down, and then we can talk about it as they come?
Yeah.
Okay. So, from the beginning of the episode, Fox referring to Badger.
That was my first thing.
As his real name.
It was like Goodmund or something.
Yeah. Man.
That moment to me was an amazing highlight to kind of start the episode off with. Because, especially with what we get of the energy of Snake's men at the end of last episode, that they're all like, we don't have a home to go to either. We are, like, basically, like, we need to pay our tab here. Like, we've been given this home here and these jobs here, even though we were all outcasted or not very good men. And we had to kind of find a home here, and we were welcomed here, even if we aren't necessarily deserving of it by, like, kind of our pasts.
Yeah.
To the fact that we don't even use our real names, which is something Snake had said to us, you know, before he killed Garter.
Mm-hmm.
And that idea that in this moment that Fox is so terrified, and he's seeing his friend get his arm sliced off and fighting by himself, but he's scared to move because he's looking around and he's seeing this thing that he's like being faced with his own past actions.
I've killed 13 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In the same way that Thorfinn imagines all of those bodies clinging to him, here we have Fox being like, I know what these men are feeling and thinking right now because I've felt it. And that it's like he's being faced with his own bloodthirst and his own, like, revelry in the fighting. And he's seeing that being targeted at someone that he sees as a friend, to the fact that he calls out his real name.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that touch there because I feel like as a viewer, I immediately knew.
Yeah.
Even though I'd never heard that name before, I immediately knew that was Badger's real name. I immediately knew because of the context. Are those stepping stones from Snake that have already been put into place about how the reason they use these animal nicknames is because like they can't go by their real names because of their past actions. We know that all of them are banding together, both, you know, because they feel like this found family with Snake. That I just like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's his real name. Oh my god.
Yep. The world exists for people stronger than you.
And that's in the conversation with the man that Kettle grabbed as he got off his horse. We also have lines like, why do you think we've always listened to you? Now you're poor like us. That I think even like preceded that or were before that.
Man, we saw a lot of blood and decapitation and limbs flying everywhere this episode, but because of the context that we had to witness, the bruises on Arnade hurt more for me to see, and because of those bruises, I did not feel that guilty watching what happened to Kettle. We didn't even really get to see it, only just the aftermath, but I was like, God, fuck, those bruises on Arnade broke me. They obviously we saw them last episode, but God damn it.
It really had us as viewers in this really tough place there at the end when, you know, Thorfinn has to throw a punch to stop Einar, because part of me as a viewer is like, why the hell do I want Kettle to be alive right now? I have no attachment to this man.
I don't really care if he's alive or not anymore.
I have like...
Well, I don't want him to die because of Thorfinn's attempt and not wanting any more death, but like strictly as an individual...
If he dies of causes of wounds from the battle, I will not cry a tear for him anymore.
You know, but like, it sucks because like, up until Kettle doing that fucked up shit to Arnade, like, Kettle had been pretty gracious with as much as you can be to Thorfinn and Einar.
And
but
he had
fuck,
a past.
God damn it.
He had a past love. We could tell that there was like really like an abandonment, a hurt here. He had latched on to Arnade because of wanting to feel like someone truly loved him. And like we could totally pity the man. And we could also be like somewhat glad that he was we could be glad
that Einar isn't in worse,
that they're not in a worse situation as slaves, and that they are going to be able to work and pay off their freedom, and that they will be able to leave. And you know, so a lot of me is like, at first, before Kettle left, that was the turning point. Before Kettle left, I was like, this man, if for all things considered, for the context of the situation that we're in and the world we're in, I would probably cry for him, because as any character in a complex series, there's going to be good parts about them and morally bad parts about them. But if they're a really good character, you're still probably going to cry for them at least a little bit if something bad happens to them. But right now, I don't know if they're going to change my feelings. But there was part of me that was like... I don't
want to see Kettle. I don't want to see anybody but Thorfinn and Knut next episode.
I know. I really I'm like, Kettle, get out of my face.
Dude,
like, I hope you die from your wounds on the battlefield.
Knut's reaction to Thorgil, like, attacking, Knut got his sword out. He blocked the blow, and he sprained his wrist and broke his sword.
The strength of that man, like, Thorgil's wild.
But what surprised me the most there was Knut saying he's a bold man and I wish he would serve me again. Because that's paired with Knut's observation that his own army in front of him that is doing a very effective job isn't doing exactly what he's asking them to do. And it's like, regardless of the means that it took to get there, there's an awareness that Knut and Thorfinn have that supersedes, I love violence and I'm gonna continue on forward because I am enjoying killing people, you know? And seeing Knut be like, I wish he'd serve me again, I was like, whoa, that's wild.
I did like that moment. I did find the character choice interesting. If I unpacked it a little more, maybe like it wouldn't have been as like interesting to me, the choice to have Thorgil run away in that moment, like back into the water. I was almost surprised that he didn't like want to like
Fight to
stand
his
there
death.
and fight to his death. Like, especially with that line, like Ketzel says, like, aren't you all Norsemen, when they all run away?
Yeah.
Then we have the kind of epitome of Norseman in the Ketzel family. He's not a con man like his dad. He's not like his baby brother who's never actually been in a fight until recently. He is an actual like sword for the king.
But
like
like
he was a great
Yeah.
warrior who actually like had success on the battlefield. He is what you would think of as the kind of epitome of that like fighting Norse man. And he, even in that moment and scene, ran away, and that choice really surprised me.
But I think that goes to show like why Canute wishes he could serve under him again, because it's that like boldness mixed with like, oh, I'm not just gonna throw away my life.
I'm not just throwing away my life.
Like, this was a good attempt, but I know when I'm outnumbered. That's somebody who's not
There's,
just blinded
sense
by
there.
rage. Yeah.
There's sense there. And it reminds us of the very ending with Thorfinn, where he's like, no, I don't plan on dying. Like, I plan on coming back.
Yeah. Arnade's breathing this episode absolutely broke me. I don't know how you're able to achieve something like that as a voice actress or actor. That was truly horrifying to hear, but I applaud the performance. Just like Einar's trembling in his voice upon, Arnade's death. There was a moment of animation that I can try really quick to see if I can bring up, but sometimes when you cry, like, it's not necessarily, oh, I'm tearing up and a slow tear goes down my face. There was a shot of Einar at some point in the episode, once Arnade is leaving, that Einar is like, you just see a quick tear going down his face, and it was brilliant.
This show and the show specifically does a really great job with depicting facial expressions, and especially like crying and tears and sadness. I know we talked about it pretty heavy in Garter's death episode.
Yeah.
That like the depiction of tears and the contortion of expressions, especially recently in some of the episodes, has been phenomenal. With like how the faces are contorting and changing with the feelings. They feel so real, like a study has been done. Like you said with the fighting, like actual reference footage or photos were looked at in order to get each of these shots and sequences that make it feel more real and then therefore even more immersive. I think that the part that hit me the most out of that scene of Arnade dying was Thorfinn jumping in to, do the chest compressions, and then the shot changes.
That my father taught me.
The shot changes, and you see that it's Einar's hands doing it, and you immediately knew. Like, if Thorfinn's not doing it anymore, and it's Einar's hands now, it's because Thorfinn knew that he couldn't, it wasn't gonna save her.
Man.
Like, he couldn't save her, and that was heart-shattering.
I love that Leaf was like, we can go to my home. I'm not gonna bullshit you. Like, I can't promise you that wars won't happen again, that this stuff won't happen again. But god damn it, I wish that Thorfinn could have truthfully said, I know a place, Vinland, let's go. But that's a dream. That's a promise. That's an aspiration at the moment. I get that, but fuck, I wish Arnade was able to hear that.
And you can't really, like, in that moment, like, obviously we've known this whole time that Einar has love for Arnade. And Arnade has love and care for him, but in the way that she felt like she needed to come back to express gratitude. But the people she truly, like, that are, like, the most important to her are waiting for her. And it's like here, there is a definite distinction here, like with what her kind of priorities are in terms of like her love and what's in her heart. And while Einar really loved and cared for her, like there were people already filling those spots in her heart. And it does make sense to me that there wasn't going to be this moment where Einar saying I love you was going to suddenly awaken her from her near death, and she was going to be like, oh, never mind, I take back the fact that they're waiting for me, I'll stay here a little longer, you're what I'm going to live for now.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't think it would have felt right to have her be so close to death, saying that like everything she had to live for and all of the meaning in her life was already somewhere else, and that is where she wanted to go. Like, in that moment, I'm like, yeah, like, let her go. Like, there is a time that, like, you need to let someone go if you know that it's gonna be the most, like, because at the end, like, you don't want to self-impose. Like, you don't want to impose your own happiness and desires onto someone else's life. Like, it needs to be, like, they need to find peace for themselves, and then you need to settle with whatever they choose at that point. And it was a heartbreaking scene that he finally gets to tell her, you know, kind of how he feels, but
I'm glad that we got to see Arnade's, like, point of view of Einar and how much she benefited from having them there.
The moments that we got to see as viewers are the ones that she quotes back as kind of making her feel like a human again.
Yeah. Man, it's like what Einar was able to bring to Thorfinn, to bring to Arnade, to bring to everybody. And like okay, it is so rewarding to be able to watch Thorfinn as a character exist as he was, be broken down to negative, like get to nothing, rebuild ideals, realize what he wants, have a reaffirmed confidence in it, and such a resolve going forward and confidence within that resolve to be able to inspire and drop wisdom. Like, he had so many lines this episode. After he managed to snap Einar out of that blind rage that he was going to Ketzel with, Thorfinn said, Einar, killing the master won't quell your rage. Anger begets anger, right? Anger begets more anger. Holy shit, that was good. But nothing
and
at all. And
he's crying as he says it.
Yeah. And I love the fact that he's crying when he says it, because it's the idea of this person that you love, you are trying to save them from the fucked up reality and pain that you had to go through and still live with.
Empathy tears.
Yeah.
Those were empathy tears.
So good.
That was like a, dude, I know how you feel right now, but I love you enough that I don't want you to curse yourself the way that I have cursed myself. Like, Thorfinn wouldn't be able to live with himself knowing that he let his, like, best friend fall into the same curse that he has tried to kind of be reborn from and, like, live with in a new way. He doesn't want Einar to fall into that. Like, Einar is this example of this kind of, this more maybe innocent to all of the conflict in the world, like this person that even though he was older when all of this conflict happened, he was still like kind of naive to or innocent to the ways of the world. He hadn't done any harm to the world. He didn't deserve, of course, anything that happened to him. And he hadn't raised his fist yet and killed someone or joined in wars and joined in like amassing slaves himself or like any of the other horrible things that are happening or done in the world. Like, Einar had not joined in and become a part of any of them. And to want to keep him in that kind of like pure state, like Einar is exactly what Thorfinn wants to achieve in terms of like the community that he wants to create. He wants to create a community of people who love and care for their neighbor, so much so that they would defend their neighbor, but they want to live in a peaceful society where they are caring for everyone around them and their neighbor.
Seeing Thorfinn aspire to fight as a kid at the start of the series that led to the culmination of Thorfinn telling Leaf that when he first heard that all of their ancestors fled from war to get to Iceland, he thought that they were lame. But now he's really proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so lucky to be watching the show. That's all I feel about it. Like, oh my god.
The fact that we're getting Thorfinn here as we're maybe coming upon the end of this season, that we're getting him kind of speaking and acknowledging the exact sentiment that his father held, in terms of like, he's now respecting his father's like decision to flee with his mother.
Man. Do you think that there will be any fighting that Thorfinn will have to do next episode? And if he has to fight anybody, I wonder if it almost be like a throwback to Thor's versus Askeladd. Ooh. Of like knocking people out, not doing any fatal blows, you know?
Well, okay, I can go there. I like that you're bringing that up in terms of like having kind of a repetition or like a bringing back of a scenario and how the fighting transpires. I do think that that could be kind of boosted because of the fact that these men, we kind of are given this Canute. They're not even Canute's men, they're Floki's men that are the ones acting the way that they are in this episode. They give me this feeling that they would be so into wanting to fight that they wouldn't want to give Thorfinn a chance to have a peaceful conversation with Canute because they just want to fight.
Mm.
And they think it'd be... So one of them would probably walk up and be like, you gotta get through me to talk to him, and then...
Do you think that there's going to be a season 3 of the show?
Okay, I feel like a lot of the themes that were or storylines that were introduced in season 1 are coming upon some sort of, like, I can see at the horizon line across the water that the cycle is being kind of completed in terms of like having Thorfinn begin to kind of have a respect for an acknowledgement of like his father's choices in the past before he was born. And the fact that like him going from child who would have looked down on his father's choices and wanting to fight to fighting to now understanding where his father was coming from, that sounds like a completed cycle to me in terms of like that theme or arc in his character development. For Canute, I feel like his story probably has a lot more that could happen in terms of like what his goal is. Like, obviously both Canute and Thorfinn have, I would say, rather lofty goals at the moment of what they would like to create in the world, and they are somewhat similar, but the like means of achieving it are different. I feel like you could have more content of them continuously working towards their goals, but in some ways certain themes or certain arcs that have started in season 1 are currently coming to like the cycle point of an ending. Potentially. I think it is really interesting that somehow or another we've gotten to the point that Thorfinn is in the same vicinity as Floki, and Floki is the reason. Is the start. The reason that his father died. God, this episode was so good, man. I was not ready. I wasn't ready. I'm Episode 20 was a good episode. How many episodes do you think? 24, 25? 24. Alright, that's all I have you. Yes. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.